Have you traveled on the Westfield to Tabokoto Road lately? Have you experienced the traffic jam along the road? Have you noticed the persistence of the traffic jam? Above all, have you experienced the inconvenience that accompany you as you navigate your way through this traffic?
It can be both costly and frustrating. Well, imagine having an alternative route to this congested Westfield to Tabokoto or Westfield to Birkama Highway.
A bypass from Sting Corner to Mandinaba could greatly reduce traffic congestion in the Greater Banjul area, significantly improve travel time, reduce cost for passengers, improve safety, and scale up environmental benefit.
Plans are underway to build this bypass and make it a toll road. An analysis has shown that those who invest in this toll road can recover their investments and potentially make significant profits.
The bypass could be financed through National Direct Investments (NDI) and complemented by Foreign Direct Investments (FDI).
The NDI is an initiative that would create a platform through which national savings of both residents and diaspora Gambians are channeled to finance strategic development projects that are of national interest and can generate revenue. The bypass will have a self-financing capacity, operated through user charges, and a strong incentive for participation from a financial viewpoint.
In case you're wondering about the management of this project, here's the plan. Representatives of the investors will be part of the board of the Special Purpose Vehicle, or SPV, responsible to provide strategic direction and oversight. In other words, they will be responsible for overall governance and decision-making.
This SPV will be a separate, independent legal entity to own and operate the project.
An escrow account with account details visible to all investors will be opened for the project.
By investing in a project like this, you are assured of a return on your investment and, most importantly, improve the lives of thousands of ordinary people. A win-win situation.
Planning to have an uninterrupted electricity and water supply from solar energy in the Gambia and beyond? Worry no more, because Solar Enterprise will provide you with the solutions at reasonable cost. We have experienced personnel who can install and advise you about your electricity and water supply with a warranty period. We have good quality solar products from North America and Europe. We provide services and sell products to individuals, organizations, institutions, private offices, communities, and government. These products are solar panels, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, water pump, water heaters, freezers, submersible pumps, and general solar accessories. Visit our stores at 48 Karaba Avenue and Brusubi Highway, or you can call us on 7657 479 980 8483 340 9400 or 635 9906.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Brusubi opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited, or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada
Mbijano aganyani
albaka
mbaka important
yo nga transfer la sto
ya transfer la
ha code nyinji
okay korsa nsila ID soto
sa so sorry agada
mbijano bro
albaka
mbaka
bara alla service o tariya
mbale
ki janna nun kunu bara tariya
janno mi yona forest de bureau Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere birin koyna fo kato
bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong labe
56 branches mola sota Gambia jang
ha
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol nko kodo kiya bere kodo sifa fo palindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw janno number 1 di nyonta andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma ni domorol di fana beteat Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je
wo moyo diat
apelenta
baraka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina
yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba
yalo ndel chosano lo
baraka.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Hello and welcome to the Brunch on Kerfatu Live. This is our weekly look at major stories in the country. This week our focus is on football because the Gambia national team will play two matches, crucial matches that is, in the hope of reaching our third Africa Cup of Nations to be played in Morocco in 2025. The first one come up on the 15th November against Comoro Islands, and on the 18th we will travel to Tunisia to take on Tunisia in Tunis. At the moment, the Gambia is trying to catch up with 3 teams, including those two teams actually, in the qualifiers. And in order for us to stand any chance, we must win Comoros on the 15th of November. So that's why I drag into the studio the man on whose shoulders everything rests on. Of course, that will be a little bit unfair because the players also have their role. But Coach Jonathan Mckinstry, who had been the Gambia's coach since June this year, is with us in the studio, and it's a privilege. Coach, welcome to the brunch here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Very good. Since it's his first time, customary, we will do a little bit introduction as our guest. Like I said, of course, Coach Mckinstry comes from Northern Ireland. He previously worked in Sierra Leone, Rwanda, at the international level, Uganda. Those are international levels. He coached teams in Lithuania, in Bangladesh, as well as much recently in Kenya. I got this little bit from Wikipedia, and I must say this Wikipedia is so generous of the coach bio. He said, Mckinstry is the first person from Northern Ireland to manage 4 international teams, and with a win percentage of 51% across his 4 international head coaching roles, Mckinstry has the best winning record in international football of anyone from Northern Ireland, with the next best record being that of Bertie Peacock, who had 39%. Previously, like I said, Mckinstry managed the Rwanda national team, the Sierra Leone national team, then this club in Lithuania, Kanos Zalgiris, and also SO5, that's in the Bangladesh Football Premier League, and then the Cranes of Uganda. Whilst in charge in Sierra Leone, Mckinstry was the youngest international manager all around the world at age just 27. Wow, that's marvelous. Congratulations, Coach. Now, since June 2024, of course, he became Gambia coach and started guiding our darling Scorpions. We will talk about that. And with me in the studio to do that is Musa Sise, journalist, and Moses Ndene, too, who is a great football journalist, a great football follower, of the great Gambian football follower, a long time since you and I, maybe you in particular, was not born. You see, I'm trying to remember what I was doing on July the 16th, 1985. I was a teacher. That was his birthday. Wow. Yeah, he's that young. He was born in July 1985. You can remember what you were doing.
Yeah, it's a historic day in Gambia.
Yeah. 85. That was the rice shortage. Zone 2 after the zone 3, rice shortage. Rice shortage in the summer.
In the summer. That's 85. I was in high school.
Yeah,
I was in high school.
Yeah, that was it. That was a rice shortage. So you remember that, eh? If anybody tells you, what do you remember? When I was born, there was rice shortage in Gambia. All right, Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Musa and the two Moses. Musa and Moses.
Well, the same.
Okay, we will give our own perspective, and then we will try to ask the coach about his roles in it. First, let's welcome you, Coach. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a couple of months since you took over the reins as Scorpio coach. How would you fare? How would you assess yourself?
I think it's sort of a layered answer. Probably, first of all, I think there's been a really good response, both inside the building and outside the building. You know, the welcome, first of all, pardon me, the welcome here in the Gambia was really quite phenomenal. It's something that I haven't really experienced before. Obviously, coming into the role, having just won the league championship in Gor Mahia for the 2nd year running, to then come here, there was a lot of excitement, and I think also what I was employed to do, you know, my nature is attacking football. I want to go attack, I want to press, you know, I come from that Red Bull school of football, so the way you see Borussia Dortmund, the way you see Liverpool, Red Bull, you know, these type of teams play is sort of part of my DNA. And so when the federation and the ministry, that's the type of coach they wanted. So it was sort of a marriage that was meant to be in terms of what they wanted and what I wanted. And I think it's what the supporters wanted as well in terms of type of football. So there was a lot of energy, a lot of warmth, a lot of excitement when I arrived, which is really nice. It's nice to arrive into that type of environment. And look, I also think the players have got on board really quickly. You know, it's been 6 months now, but in real terms, it's been 3 international camps. And so when you consider we've played 6 games, we've also probably only had about 12 training sessions. So considering the style change from being a sort of low block defensive counter-attacking team into a very front foot, go and press the ball, play at high intensity, high energy, in only 12 training sessions, for me that's quite remarkable, and it shows that the players are really engaged and want to go on this journey together. But that also shouldn't surprise me, because even though maybe the previous style of football was not one that everyone would have enjoyed playing in, the players still had the professionalism and the dedication to do it successfully. So it's not a surprise to me that they're willing to go with their coach and to work in the way that we want. But I definitely think they're really passionate about the type of football we're trying to play. And look, in terms of performances, I think 80%, 85% have been really good. You know, I even said after we lost the game 2-1 to Tunisia, and everyone was really disappointed after that result, I said to the guys, and I said in the press conference, there's so much about our football that I really love watching. As a football coach, you like being able, we're put in this little invisible jail on the side of the pitch, you know, in this technical area that we're not allowed to leave. And as a coach, you like to be able to stand there and look at what your players are doing and say, I really like what I'm seeing. Yeah. And so that's a really good feeling. Now, have we completed the jigsaw puzzle yet? No. Because I think it's clear for everybody that we still need to add that goal scoring element to it. But the other thing is, now it's so much more obvious, because if you wind back 18 months with the Scorpions, maybe in any given match you were only creating 3 or 4 chances, whereas now, like when we played Comoros the first time in match day 1, we had 22 goal scoring chances.
You didn't keep records, did you? I was counting.
Yeah.
So
22 goal scoring chances in a single game. So when you only score 1 goal,
that's crazy.
All of a sudden you're going, oh wow. And this is the thing I also said to the players. It feels so much more painful when you don't win, when you play the way we're trying to play. When you go toe-to-toe with opponents, when you play with high energy, high passion, when you create as many chances as we create, if you don't win, it really does feel like a knife in the stomach.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're sitting in a low block and you create 2 or 3 chances and it ends up being a draw, you sort of go, oh, well, okay, we wish we could do better, but okay. And so this is the thing, when you want to play like this, and this is no different for us than it is for Tottenham Hotspur, who play in a similar way, Borussia Dortmund, they feel that pain so much more when they don't get what they want. And so for me, I think we've made, as a coach, 12 training sessions. I think we've made quite remarkable progress in terms of the playing style, but we're not finished. The jigsaw still has missing pieces. We need to, the 2 big areas that we need to do better on is we need to be better defensively at set pieces. Set pieces is the big thing, and last game we managed to nail that, and we won the game. We won the game, and we're putting big work on that. But in the previous 5 games, we conceded a set piece in every single one of them. You can't do that at international level if you want to win. But again, set pieces have been a long-term problem for the Scorpions. And then the second one is we need to be clinical. You know, I was speaking to a player who I used to coach many years ago, and you guys will know very well, Kai Kamara, who obviously spent time here in the Gambia after leaving Sierra Leone. And Kai and me are still very close. And after we played, I think it was the first game against Madagascar where we drew 1-1, and with the last minute goal. And he texted me after the game, and he just said, coach, if you guys can get cleaner around the penalty area, you're going to blow teams away. And another person I knew in football who has no interest in the Gambia other than I'm the coach, again, but he's involved in analysis of the game. He texted me after a game and said, if you can score in the first 10 minutes of a game, it's going to settle you down and you're going to blow teams away. And I feel the same. So it's nice to get that affirmation from outside the house, who know what they're talking about. And so I think we've made real positive steps, but ultimately, for all these great statistics, 22 shots on goal, 70% possession in some games, for all these great statistics, there's only one statistic that matters, and that's how many goals you score compared to the opposition. That's the only one that matters, and I know that, the players know that, and we're working hard on it, but eventually top performance leads to top results. I know that, and so we just got to keep going on this path, but ultimately we also know we've got a big game to win this week.
Good. Well, you speak as if you've known your job. You've already cut out for you already. Your job is cut out. That is to ensure that you have you are more effective in finishing and cleaning. I mean, because creating chances and not converting them equally brings a problem of what to do. But how do you go about using the materials you have at your disposal? Because this is where often you get commentaries as to we don't quite know what coach is intending to do by picking this one over this one, picking this one over this one, particularly this very one. Now you give a debutant perhaps opportunity to Alassane Jatta, quite apart from what we have seen, but maybe you say an unknown quantity for you. You brought Yankuba, even though people believe he's an injury suspect, stuff like that, but because he's our poster boy, he's very important in terms of inspiration for our team. You got a little flagging for those kind of decisions. What inspired us?
Yeah, so I think the big difference between being a club coach and a national team coach, because they're very different jobs. Being a club coach, you're with your players 300 days a year on the training pitch, and you get to mold them and you get to really dig down into some key aspects of what they're doing. And so you're really developing the team on the training pitch. Whereas, and so in that sense, I would suggest being a club coach is almost like being, working with clay. You're trying to mold the clay. You're trying to create something over time and design it, okay? And you can move it, you can make it bigger, smaller. It's like molding clay. Being an international coach, I think, is more about putting together a jigsaw puzzle, because you don't have that time to mold like you do as a club coach. You have pieces. Musa Barrow, Yankuba Minte, Sheikh Sibi, James Gomez, Omar Colley. They are jigsaw pieces that you cannot change the shape of in 2 or 3 days before a match. They are who they are. Yeah, and that will evolve over time, because the player Omar Colley is at 31 is different than the player he was at 22.
Absolutely.
So he evolves over time, but he evolves external to a large degree of the international influence. He evolves because of what he's doing at his clubs and what he wants. So as an international coach, rather than being someone working with clay, you're someone working with jigsaw puzzle pieces, and you've got to try and put them together, and which ones fit together and which ones will work together well. Because I'll tell you this, people sort of talk about, yes, okay, as part of the warm-up in international football training sessions, you'll do some passing or you'll do some of that. But we are not working at international level to improve someone's passing quality. No. We don't have the time. We're not working to improve someone's fitness. We don't have the time. Absolutely. We can't make someone into a 30-goal season, a striker, in 3 days. No. We don't have the time. It's about putting the right jigsaw pieces together. Absolutely. And for us, you asked about sort of two specific players there. When we come, I don't make a lot of changes to my squad. You see that. Every squad you might see 3, maybe 4 tweaks. Because the other thing is you want consistency. Because the more time, say the 4 of us were in a team together, if we play together every time, we start to know each other. Okay, Musa likes to play this type of pass, Moses likes to play this type of pass, and we get to know each other. If all of a sudden you come in tomorrow and it's different people, that connection and that understanding's gone. And so we like to keep 80% of the squad quite consistent in the short term.
Absolutely.
And then other people, who deserves their opportunity, who's been playing well, who do we think, if we bring them into this environment, might be a good fit to the jigsaw piece. So for example, Alassane Jatta, what he's doing at Notts County, he is very clearly a target man there. He has more to his game. If you look back into his history, he can drop in, he can play, he can have nice touches. But at Notts County, they are asking him to be the target man, to be the Erling Haaland type player who does not come and get, Alassane can sometimes only have 7, 8, 9 touches in an entire game for Notts County, but he might score 1 or 2 goals. And so for us, you look at that and go, okay, having a point striker, and if you look at my teams over history, whether it's Sierra Leone with Kai Kamara, whether it's Uganda with Fad Bayo, Gor Mahia with Benson Omala, all of these teams had a Drogba-like striker who led the line. And so you look again at Alassane and you think, maybe. But that's not a guarantee, because again, the players he will be playing against this coming week and the players he will be playing with are of a higher standard than what he's playing at Notts County. With all respect to Notts County, but Notts County do not have a player of the standard of Aliou Federa. They do not have a player of the standard of Moussa Barrow. And so Alassane in 2 or 3 training sessions has to try and get used to that. And on Yankuba, so if we had a game today, would I pick Yankuba to be in the squad? Probably not. But the game's not today. It's a bit like saying, you have a stomach problem today, and you've got a meeting next week. Are you going to cancel the meeting next week because you've got a stomach problem today?
Oh, absolutely.
No, you're going to assess it. And look, in a 24-man squad, the nature of it is that 11 start and another 5 at maximum come off the bench. Every international camp, even with 2 games, there will probably be 5 or 6 players of the 24 who see no minutes.
Absolutely.
And so for me, when I look, and we've spoken with Brighton, I was on the phone earlier in the week with their sporting director, I've been speaking with Yankuba, we have a very good relationship with Brighton's medical and sports science team. My answer is, I do not know 100% if Yankuba will be ready to play. There is a chance he will be ready to play. By naming him in the squad of 24, it leaves that chance open.
Absolutely.
If you don't name him, it closes it completely. So for me, in a 24-man squad, I am willing to take that chance on a player who I believe deserves to be given that chance because of what he has done for us over not even just us, for me, since I've arrived. Because I think, was it 3 goals and 2 assists in the last 6 games? So again, if he's not ready, are we going to force it? No. And Brighton know that as well, because we need to maintain good relationships. But also, if he cannot make it for 90 minutes, maybe he can make it for 45. And again, fitness, people like to talk about fitness being you're either fit or you're not. But fitness isn't like that. It's not a light switch. We're on a progression of fitness. You know what I mean? So if someone can run 5 kilometers, are they fit? But they're not as fit as someone who can run 20 kilometers.
Absolutely.
But they're more fit than someone who can run 2 kilometers. But there's some people who can't run at all. So fitness is a continuum. And so is Yankuba as fit as he has ever been? No.
Okay.
But is he fit in comparison to others? Yes, he is. So that's the reason we're making that.
I'll pass the baton to Moses and Musa.
Musa,
thank you. Yes, he assessed his time as Gambia coach. He's given us an insight as to what he's trying to do in terms of imposing his philosophy and the kind of materials he has and what he intends to do. What do you make of his work so far?
Thank you, Cham. Impressive. I think I'm very privileged or lucky, as he knows that, because we were together in Morocco, and those 2 matches that he was talking about. I've never sat over the press conference with him, but I was the only one who was talking to him in Morocco during those 2 matches, as the only journalist from the Gambia. And of course, firstly, coach is very diplomatic in not trying to compare his tenure with previous coaches who were, but he talked about the style of play that he has, and that's different from what we used to experience as a national team, even though grinding those results that were able to see us qualify in 2 AFCONs, But here he is with his own philosophy. He has a belief, he has a trademark which he wants to impose on the national team as his playing style. And the fact is, for most people who are following our game, you talked about the use of materials. Do you have the materials to play your game? Yes. Do you think you can make it better? Yes. Do you have it 100%? No. But what's happening? The progress. It's a process that he is trying to put in place. Going back the matches that we've played against opponents in our group, there are 2 issues here that we should be talking about. Could and should have won all those matches. He would tell you, he would agree with me that all those matches we played, we should and could have. Put it to him and he would tell you absolutely, because of what, coach. You would totally agree with me that we could and should have won all matches by now. We should have qualified. I hope I'm not putting any pressure on you for people to, why didn't we qualify? Why didn't we win them? He talked about chances and why we need to be clinical. In our previous tenure, in the 4 previous coaches' tenure as head coach, we were a block that defends very well and use our little speedboats, as he used to call them, and hit our opponents on the counter attack. Unlike right now, our intense pressing game with very good speedboats up front, who fail to be clinical. And that's our Achilles heel right now. And that's his problem to solve. It's his problem to identify who is going to make the difference during those trainings before these 2 crucial games. But there's one important thing I want to highlight in here. It's the fact that we've never qualified on home soil. All our qualifications to the AFCONs to date have been away from home.
Okay, we're coming to the 2.
I'm coming, because the important is what we are faced with, as you touched on it. The only thing that we want to see is that how the players knows very well the importance of these 2 games. The coach knows about it. He spoke about its importance. It's our fate in our own hands. I think we'll delve into that later on. But what's important right now is that, having seen what he's been trying to do over this period, and his comportment with his players, and the fact that because I witnessed, he addresses his players, putting the urgency in these games that we've played so far, that we need these points, we need to be clinical, and of course showing them his frustration for not being clinical. I think that was something that he openly in the press conference. It's very frustrating. You can't play this kind of games and not take your chances, and that's something that I believe we should be talking around very much, Coach and Cham.
What do you make of his selection? What are the things you pick up people saying when each time he selects a team? You hear reactions like, "Oh, it brought this guy to the order. Oh, this one had, we had proven, we already have evidence that he perhaps."
We've been here, Cham, before. We've been here for long. I mean, me and Moses would of course, it very well. We've been here before, and I am not an advocate, and I'm not that kind of fan, or fans like journalists who really. Whether you agree with me on this issue or not, most of our journalists, most of our people, advocate for their friends. Yeah, their friends or people they live with in the vicinity, or people they have affection for, or people have a relationship with. You remember Jato was here. To me, the best player that we ever had in this country. We might dispute over it, but what happened? Up till today, people are advocating. What's wrong with those kind of players? Today, The job of selecting the national team is the coaches. My opinion doesn't matter. It's just an opinion. But the fact is, he knows these players more than I do. If I do follow them, I just follow them from a glimpse. I analyze them. But he's a technical guy who can go into it. Because I'll not be doing justice to him as a former player who knows what it takes to be in the field, what it takes to run, make a decision, think, play to win a game, than somebody who's just sitting on an armchair just wanting to make a decision for the coach. That's great. That's not very fair. But his selection, as far as I'm concerned, he said this thing many times, that you have to be informed to be part of my team. I'm not trying to build a football club in here. This is a national team. If you go down, if you're not consistent, I'm sorry, you have to take a break and bring yourself back. You are to want to bring yourself back into the national team. I'm not bringing you back. Where am I looking at? What are you doing week in, week out in your club? But in the case of Yankuba Minte, which I want to bring in here, I don't think Yankuba's club would release him to join the national team if he was in a better position to play, because the coach is not going to disrupt the relationship he has with Brighton, because that means if the team fails to release him, we are the losers. Whatever FIFA is going to say tomorrow, we might miss him in a game that we wanted him so badly. But that decision, I think, is for him, and his selection process. I'm not going to select for him. He's daily following his players. He's looking for he's scouting for his players wherever they are. And I believe the best thing so far we've seen is that consistency is what is bringing people into his national team.
Moses?
Yes.
What's your assessment? Do you agree with the coach?
Well, I was going over what you said about him, his profile.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, wow, being so young, and Northern Ireland has a history in world football. I think that's where you have the O'Neill. You have the youngest player in World Cup ever. The guy, 17-year-old guy.
Hold on.
What's his name again?
That was in 1990.
Yes.
94 World Cup.
So one thing that caught my liking about him now is, like, I believe in history also.
Yes.
And when you mentioned that he is the most successful coach, as young as he is, coming from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said, wow. And I know the coach, that coach is Mckinstry and others.
Yeah.
And if you are to be the best, so being so young and have more years to come, I'm really impressed. Again, when he took over the national team, he took over the national team in a very, very difficult transition. You just part ways with your coach, the coach that you were with for years, and you played in big tournaments like AFCON twice. He has to come from Gormaya. Gormaya, I used to follow Gormaya.
I know.
A fantastic team in Kenya. Bruis, Kenya Bruis, and these are all teams that I know. But winning a league in Kenya is another thing, because I used to follow the Kenyan league. It's like one of the best league in Africa.
Very competitive.
Very competitive, professional league. So he is not. Although he's young, but he's no small coach. But having said that, yes, when he took over this team, he needed to come up with a squad, and he needed to. There were some players who were phasing out, having appeared in 2 AFCON. You have to replace them with new players.
New ones, yes.
He came with fantastic lads, and again there were players that they established themselves in their positions, like Gay, the goalkeeper. You have to come with Sibi. Sibi has been there, but Sibi was dropped because of that first AFCON. The reaction. Yes. And I said, let me follow this guy very well. I don't know why.
By the way, he was a former goalkeeper.
Yes,
he paid a lot of attention.
That's why I mentioned about Stevie. That goalkeeping position was my interest. So when he decided to change that, I saw Sibi. His first match was a fantastic game. We lost. That
it was
match.
a World Cup qualifier.
Absolutely, absolutely. I saw the lad. I said, "Wow, this is a very good goalkeeper." But when he came back, I don't know where he scouts Sibi and put Sibi as the #1 goalkeeper. I said, "Let me give him chance." You understand? So again, coming back to these matches, I was privileged to watch all matches because I am having a Super Sport channel. Whereby I don't miss Gambian matches. But all the matches that I have watched, he said that he has almost 12 sessions.
Yeah, training sessions.
And six internationals. I was following the statistics. Yes, going back to the matches, they were not bad matches, because especially our match against Tunis, that game, I immediately after the match, I locked myself up.
Wow.
Yeah. So because
what was your feeling?
Yeah, because that game should have been Gambia's game, because we played far better.
So the Sud and Kud is coming back.
Yeah, we played far better than the Tunisians.
Yeah.
But they snatched. They didn't even believe it. Look at how they were jubilating.
Yeah.
Because they didn't believe that they can have those 3 points from Gambia. Again, the Comoros game.
Yeah.
That was clearly our 3 points. Like Moses said, we should have been comfortable by now.
Yeah, in the group.
You know, we could have
standings.
We could have, although we
would have been home
by now. Maybe we were thinking about how to appear in the but again, it's not lost. These 2 matches are very important, especially the Comoros one.
Yes,
because that one would show you that you can progress if you win that game.
Yes.
And I know coach is preparing very well, and I'm sympathetic to coach. You know, he mentioned about 2 things: having a national team within a game week, because on the FIFA or CAF FIFA used to allow players for 5 days.
Yeah.
In those 5 days, some are coming from China,
yes,
some from America.
Saudi Arabia.
You will lose 1 day.
Yeah.
You will lose 1 day.
Absolutely.
You remain
Maybe
with 4
even
days.
2.
You remain with 4 days. The 4 days.
Only train
1
days.
session. One session. Warm up and you play. You cannot envy a coach on that.
Yeah.
You see, and he came in. He never had a tournament sort of preparation.
He didn't have the luxury of
luxury of
international friendlies.
Yes. And he came when Gambia has a luxury of players.
Yeah.
Previously, we used to have very few.
Yeah.
Now every position is a big competition. So we have even players that he never invited.
Yes, up to now.
Up to now.
So that's why
we have a player who is playing in a historic club.
Yeah.
A club that you have legends like Pele, legends like Neymar.
You talking about Brazilian club? Santos.
Yusuf Ndiaye,
Biri's son.
And that guy has never been so consistent with the selection of Tom Samphe.
Yes.
Yeah, Ndiaye was one of the best professionals we have produced for a long time.
Yes.
He was playing in Boavista.
Yes.
Portugal as a deputy captain and banging goals. So these are all problems for him. Now I am praying for him and praying for the Gambia at least to have at least 6 points in these 2 games.
It's possible.
Good. Coach, yes, you mentioned you like. Of course, you have to have players who are consistent in your team so that you can more. But like he said, I was going to point out, you still have a lot of players who probably haven't got a chance to feature. You still have a door opening for these kind of players he's describing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing about players is, and it's a problem, but it's a good problem that we call as a football coach manager when you've got so much talent out there. I was scouting a game. I was watching Ibu Adams play actually in England a couple of months ago for Derby, and it just so happened that Michael O'Neill, the Northern Ireland manager, was at the game, and we were sat beside each other, and we had coffee after the game, and I spoke to him, and I was saying to him, he was asking me where our players played, and I was going, well, we've got about 160 playing in Europe, of which about 50 of them are playing in top tier divisions, and most of them are playing 70-80% of the available minutes. So they're regulars. Absolutely. And he was like, can we swap jobs? Because he was like, in Northern Ireland, all of our players from Northern Ireland are playing in like League 1, League 2, maybe as substitutes. They have a few top players, but not so many. And so for us, at the moment we have such a wealth of talent, and what's really pleasing for me as well is the majority of that talent is born and bred here in the Gambia. We haven't, if you looked at our last squad, me and Eboufe actually counted it on the side of the warm-up on match day one day, and I was like, how many do we have that were not born in the Gambia, who are the diaspora players? And there was only, of the 23, only 5.
Only 5.
But if you look at the Nigeria squad, the Ghana squad, the Sierra Leone squad, the Senegal squad, it's more like 5 players were born in the country. So for us, I really like that. Now, that's not, obviously the diaspora players, if they feel close to their Gambian roots, have an important part to play for us. But we also have to remember there are some diaspora players who do not feel close to their Gambian roots. And I've had conversations with some of them, and they've said, we really appreciate the phone call, coach, but for us, we feel the other side of our family.
I see.
We don't feel the Gambian side of it. And so for us, one of the things I say to our players is the thing that needs to come first is passion. Because the supporters will forgive you a defeat. They will not forgive you for not giving everything for the cause. I once had a national team captain in Rwanda who always used to say, we must be willing to die a little bit on the pitch in pursuit of this success for our national colours, to raise the flag. And so that passion, if it's not there from a player, whether they're born in the Gambia or outside, then they're not going to reach peak performance. And so for me, we assess all players, but it's also one of the things, there's 2 parts to this. One is that performance over 4 or 5 games has to be looked at in context, because is that, to use an English saying, a flash in the pan? Have they had a few good weeks?
That's it.
But actually over the course of the last year you look and go, they've not been great. And that sometimes happens. Sometimes players have 2 or 3 nice games, they score a goal or 2, but then you look at it and go, but that's the first 3 games they've started in the last 8 months. The previous 7 months they'd only came on as a sub 3 or 4 times. So again, for me, what I'm looking at, those flashbulb moments of performance, then I look and see, is there consistency of performance? And what level are they reaching to? And also, you got to remember, there might be a player playing really well, but for me to bring player A into the squad, I need to drop player B out of the squad. And now we go back to, we've only got 3 days maybe to prepare the team. Is he going to learn enough to be ready to play in the team to replace the experience that the player I would be dropping out is? So often, again, and this isn't a golden rule because there's always exceptions, but if you look at my international teams, and I've coached it's probably over 60 international games now, normally when a player comes into the squad for the first time, he's part of at least 2 squads before he makes it onto the field. Because in those first 2 camps, as a squad player, he gets 5, 6, 7 training sessions, and he gets to know these guys, and then he gets his chance in the team. Take someone like Abdoulaye Sise, who made his debut in the first game against Madagascar, but when he came into the camp in September, he had never played with Ali Sow before. He'd never played with Musa Barrow before. So it's okay, he knows them, he's seen them on TV, but that's different than playing out on the field under pressure. So again, I talk about, I want to set players up for success,
and success means them being comfortable at performing at a high level. They might want to play, but are they ready to play? And so, because the worst thing at international level is to put someone in when he's not ready, because if he plays badly, the confidence can drop massively, the criticism that comes on a national level in his community, etc., is terrible, and it can, especially for a young player, can really damage them. And so we look at players. You know, I'll give you a player, for example, who's doing remarkably well for his age, Rashid Ndene, in Latvia. What a great first season for him. He's won 2 trophies, but then let's go beyond the social media accounts of it. He has in a 34 game league season. He is, and then another 5 cup games. So let's say you've got 40 domestic games available. He started 14. So 14 starts out of a possible 40. Plus another 8 or 9 sub appearances. But he's 18. That's great.
That's great.
That's a great first season.
And let's push him.
And so for me, I look at it and I go, you're on a great pathway.
Continue.
You're on that great pathway. And in the future, if you keep on that pathway, there's great potential for you in a Scorpion shirt. But at the moment, would I leave out deep-lying midfielders? Let's talk about, would I leave out Alassane Mane for him? No. Would I leave out Ibu Adams for him? No. Mamadou Baggio is getting his chance. He's a couple of steps higher up the ladder than someone like Rashid Ndene. Doesn't mean that the player who doesn't get in is a bad player. It just means that A, is he ready? Because I want to protect the player. And B, who am I going to drop out for him? Who am I going to leave out for him? And this is the constant challenge. Is some people will come, and press conferences are a great thing. They say, what about this player? What about this player who's playing there? And then my response is, yes, he's doing well. I remember in the first camp, we were talking about a winger. And I said, he is doing well, but I'll put it to you. Who do you drop in place of him? Ibrahim Akali, Bamba Sanyang, Yankuba Minte, Musa Barrow. Which of those 4 do you drop for him, who's playing in the second tier of some league and doing well? And then the answer is, oh well, I wouldn't drop any of them.
There you go.
And so it's like, but so look,
what's the point?
You know, for me, picking the squad and picking the team is a great privilege. Okay, I know you said earlier about, you know, opinions, you know, but you don't get to pick the team, and I don't mind people having opinions. And even for me, you know, big open secret to everybody, coaches make mistakes as well. Sometimes. There's sometimes in my career of, you know, 200 odd games now, there's been times I come away and think, oh, I shouldn't have made that substitution, or that was the wrong player to start the game. He wasn't. I thought that would happen and it didn't, and you get it wrong. But all we can say is mistakes are okay as long as the decision you make, you've made it for the right reasons. Have you made the decision for the right reasons?
Fine.
And if you have, it's fine. It might go right, it might go wrong, but if you can legitimize the reasons for making that decision, and for me that's where I take comfort. I think the decisions we make, we go into the detail of it. Not everybody will agree with it all the time. Fairness is a funny word because everyone has a different belief what is fair. But yeah, I think we always try to make our decisions for the right reasons, and they'll go right as often as they can.
Good, glad. For somebody who has 2 crucial matches, coach, you sound so comfortable, so confident, so off pressure. For somebody who must win 1 of 2 matches and who must not disappoint or fail the nation, who have been to the Africa Cup of Nations twice, and now you are now on a knife edge. You know, don't you feel the pressure that would I fail Gambians not taking them to the AFCON after testing 2 AFCONs?
But look, so the answer is, do you feel the pressure? There's a context of it here in terms of the game and in terms of the African Cup of Nations and it being a game for millions of Gambians both here and around the world. And so there's the context of the pressure. But in football, in my role, the pressure is always there. You know, it doesn't matter if you are coaching a team that has 500 supporters to a team that has 5 million supporters. The pressure is always there. There is always a chairman or a CEO who we must win the next game. And even for me, the pressure is there because I want to win. I want to be successful. You know, I think my career has been characterized by that of how can we find a way to win with this group of players. And so the pressure is there to perform and to deliver. However, for me, the reason I'm maybe quite light with it, is why I carry it well, is I also know I don't control the result. I've given up the control of the result a long time ago. I forget who it was now, but there was an American sports coach who many years ago, I think it might have been Pat Riley, said that he wrote a book, you know, the scoreboard takes care of itself. And it's like, if you go out and perform, if you give, I always say there's this great thing of if anybody, and this is true in any job, but if someone gives everything they can and they work honestly and authentically and together for a common purpose, if they give everything that they can possibly give, what more can you ask of a person or a group of people?
Nothing.
And if you don't get the result you want, I think if you know that you've given everything in pursuit of it, you can sleep easier at night, because what more can I give than everything I've got? And so And so for me, I know that as a coaching staff, we're going to put everything into it, and we always do every day. For the players, I know they put everything into it. And for us, we chase performance. And if we can go out and put a top performance on, then more often than not, we're going to get the results that those performances deserve. But football is a cruel game in that it will teach you that you can maybe have the best game of your life and lose, and have the worst game of your life and win. I don't know if there's any Manchester United fans in the room, but and I'm going to go back to a more successful time for you, but everyone would like to romanticize the 1999 Champions League final, and it was a magical night. It was a magical night.
They're going to show you.
But Bayern Munich were by far the better team that night. You know, Bayern Munich dominated that game. They should have been clearing away before those goals.
In 3 minutes.
Yeah, and so it shows you that the best team doesn't always win. And so, for me, I want to win, but I understand that even the best performance sometimes doesn't win you the game and doesn't win you the trophy. But because we can't control the scoreboard, we can just chase after performance. We can work on the things, as we've already highlighted, that we know we need to work on, and then we see what happens on match day.
Moses?
Yes.
Your time to fire him. Fire him quick.
You know, again, I don't know where he graduated, but he's a very good psychologist and very good speaker.
Exactly.
And he's been motivating me to come with something. Now, when you talk about results, now, for the past 2-3 weeks in international football, we have been witnessing some terrible results for big teams like the Real Madrid, the Arsenals.
Yes.
You understand? Results are not manufactured because there is a saying that football didn't have logic. It goes with luck.
Yeah, sometimes it goes with luck. Most of
it goes with luck. I agree with him. You ask him, he's so comfortable.
Yes.
And some Gambians out there are not sleeping.
Yes, that's right.
But what he said is true.
Yeah.
Scoreboard. He talked about Riley.
Scoreboard's taking
Riley of he wrote a book and said about scoreboard.
Scoreboard's taking care of it.
He cannot do it. The only thing you can put everything in place and do everything humanly possible to have result. But at the end of the day, he has come up with an example. That memorable match between Bayern Munich and Manchester United, 1999, it was Bayern Munich all over. Yeah. And only 3 minutes, in a twinkle of an eye, everything turned. So it happens when he took over Gambia. It happens the match against Tunisia.
Yeah.
That could have been clear 3 points for the Gambia. Even Comoros. Not to mention Mozambique. But again, we have to go with open heart in these two games, and maybe we will have results. But what I want to ask him now, you've been playing fantastic strikers, but goal drought throughout. He's a very good player. So
Ali Sow,
he's a fine player, and we know of the old guards, a striker who can bring for you goal anytime, and he's part of the squad, but he has always been a substitute throughout, and he played a limited matches. Badamasi.
Oh yeah, Badamasi.
Badamasi. What happened?
He was very instrumental.
Ultimately, Mohammed played, obviously if you remember, he played in the starting window back in June, but then his loan, he was contracted to a Turkish club but was on loan with a club in Saudi Arabia. That loan ended. He went back to his Turkish club, but it was clear he was going to be leaving the Turkish club, and so for pre-season he basically didn't have a proper pre-season, and he confirmed his move to Standard Liège just in the 1 or 2 days before the September window. So he hadn't played any matches. He'd been training on his own at his club in Turkey, so he wasn't in physical condition at all to play in those matches. Obviously he went to Standard. Lack of a real pre-season meant he was behind other players, but was building himself up, was getting 20 minutes, 30 minutes for Standard, and with that, because again of his experience and what he can bring to the team, we brought him in the last window, and we thought he did okay. I think in the second game when he came on as a substitute, I think even he would feel he could do better, but in the first game was okay, and then but since he's went back to Standard, he hasn't played a single minute in the last window. And when you have players like Alassane Diatta, who is scoring and playing 90 minutes every week, Abdoulaye Cisse, who again this morning scored another goal this morning, and is scoring and playing 90 minutes. Ali, obviously for Ali, has scored and played for his team in Turkey over the last few weeks, but also has now the confidence of his first goal for the Scorpions against Tunisia. And again, we can't really name more than 3 strikers, so that's ultimately where it comes with Mohammed. But we know he's a player who can have great influence. You know, he's a player who, when you look at, you think, okay, there's a target man who can hold the ball up, who can bully defenders. But what he also does is he presses the game very well, which most big strikers don't do because they're not as mobile, whereas Mohammed is a very mobile striker as well as being a big striker, and so it's a nice combination to have. But look, Standard's a really good club for him to be at, and so now just him getting fully match fit and playing minutes there, and okay, he's not involved in this squad. We hope by the time we get to the March games that he will have had a really good run and can be back in contention. But then you also have people like Adama Bojang starting to play now at Grasshopper on loan. You have someone like Lamin Silla who's moving to Olympiacos. You have a lot of other, Adama Sidibe's not in this squad, who's playing 90 minutes every week. So the competition for places is huge, and but that's what we want. And there's always going to be people disappointed. Absolutely, but that's what we want.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is well said on the side of the coach, and the issue of players. I mean, some players, and we're nostalgic with some of these players that used to don the national side and then go out and represent us. But if you look at, for example, in the case of Bada and his last appearance, I mean, for me, it was okay. Whether the coach would agree with me or not, it was okay in his delivery. Ali, so I mean, for me, it's having seen him play, you know, and the efforts, the energy he puts in. There is something just a little bit that's not right for me sometimes in his body language in which he goes about in the game, and that's for the coach to decide on. And as I said, you know, I mean, this third, you must, once you put it on, you have to feel different. That's my thinking. Once you put on, you've done the national third with the colors on, there's no limit for you. I expect you to go all the way. Break your leg for it. There's a long window now against the World Cup qualifiers in March. You'll get better. And you'll get back to, you can claim back your seat. How stupid of me to say that, but that's just a saying. But what we are supposed to be talking about right now is, having said what used to be, is what we could in the next 2 matches and see us through in our third AFCON. I want to believe that the coach has what it takes. I want to believe that it is very, 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 very highly likely that we're going to see ourselves in Morocco 2025. Because my reason for saying so is that I had the privilege of speaking to the team captain, and Omar is a good brother, having been with him in the past AFCONs, and of course the relationship we had, and the confidence, and of course Omar, why do you guys used to or like to just take the difficult path? Because this is a difficult path.
Yeah, because it's too late.
Yeah, you want to come back and start fighting when you could have just done this thing a long time ago, and this thing would have been, the last matches would have just been a walk in the park, because you could. Why didn't you? I know it's very frustrating, but I asked him, didn't you want to go to the AFCON? Is it that the young players, you can instill this desire to really see themselves in their first AFCON or second AFCON? Some of you, this is going to be your last one, someone like you, I don't know. But don't you think about it? The promise is that, I think, let me say this thing to you, we're going to make it. And I think this is what a captain wants to, a coach wants to hear from his captain, or want to assure someone who might be talking to the public, that the boys definitely are willing and are ready to play for the national team. But as far as I'm concerned right now, with some of these players who are missing in the sense that the selection process is tough, and it's a good position to be in for any coach. It's a nightmare, but he would tell you that it's a good nightmare. He would never get it right 110%. It's never for the national team. It never happens anywhere. So if we think that it is something that he's going to fix tomorrow, I'm sorry, Jonathan, you can't do that.
What I've been observing is, have we now got one player we can safely say is a prolific striker who hardly will miss chances that come his way? That, barring fitness problems or injury, is one we cannot overlook in every selection. Does anybody comes to your mind?
Look, I think the thing about it is, as well, though, is there's a reason why the best strikers in the world go for $150 million. Goal scoring is the hardest thing, because what does goal scoring entail? There's obviously the technical quality, but for me, as a footballer, your heart is beating 150, 180 beats a minute. Your heart is pumping out of your chest because you're working. You're doing those high intensity runs. You're screaming at people to get the ball, all of that. You're working. The crowd, everything. There's all this external stimuli, and your heart is beating out of your chest. And in that moment that ball comes to you, in one touch, because the best strikers are one touch, are you cool? Is your head like a calm ocean? Is it? Because if your head is like your heart at 180 beats a minute, that ball goes over the stand. So can your head be like a calm ocean whilst the rest of your body is energy and energy and energy? And and that's why to have that costs $150 million nowadays. And then you come into the other elements of it, is that, and I said this before, is like people scoring goals at certain levels. Abdoulaye Sise is now on 17 goals in the Estonian League in half a season. Remarkable return. Alassane Jatta in his is on 8 or 9 goals in League 2. But again, is that the same level and speed of the game that you experience when you play against a Tunisia, Comoros? I think the speed of the game at international level is a bit faster, and so you then it's about adapting to that very quickly. So you ask about, is there someone you can guarantee to put the ball in the net every single time? But I would suggest, if you've even watched the greatest striker in the world at the moment in recent weeks, he's had a problem of putting the ball in the back of the net, and Erling Haaland. You know, I couldn't believe, was it last week he hit the base of the post from an open goal? And it's like, how does that happen?
How does that happen?
And so for us, I think there is, when we look at it in training, there's real quality in the attacking department. You know,
training.
you look at, I've already named the three strikers, Sise, So, and Jata, but you look at people like Musa Barrow, like Aliou Fadera, you know, like Ablai Jallow, you know, all of these guys, Yankuba Minte, all of these guys have great quality, but they also want it so much. And when you want it so much, sometimes there can be a tensing of the muscles or of the mind.
The mind, especially.
And so that's where we need to say to them, hey, just, you know, it's the ironic, and I say this to young players all the time, you know, would it surprise you if I told you the person who misses the most shots in the last 20 years is Cristiano Ronaldo? Yet he's also scored the most goals in the last 20 years. So you've got to be willing to miss in order to score. You know, you've got to be willing to miss in order to score. And you can't let missing the goal have a negative impact on you. You've got to be thinking next. Like
Barrow missed a penalty, but redeemed himself. The other match.
So I think, look, the guys there, we're happy with what we've got. I think there's a lot of African nations who look at our striking component and would happily swap with us. And like I said, it would be worse if we were not creating the chances. It wouldn't maybe be as obvious, because people would be like, oh well, if we're not creating chances, then there's nothing to miss. But creating the chances, that tipping point's going to come, and we're working on it, the guys. And like, look, these guys are scoring goals at club level. You know, Musa scored another 2 for Al Tawun in the Asian Champions League a couple of days ago. Jata scored again 3 in the last 2 games. Everyone's scoring goals, so put them in the right position often enough, and we're going to get the goals to take us where we want to go.
Yes, let me just ask Coach. Coach, I mean, you talked about set piece. I don't know the composition of your technical team. Do you have a set piece
specialist or coach?
Because what you said about set piece, we used to have a lot of corners, and now set pieces are very important in games. It was important before, but today it's more important.
They said they are half goals.
Exactly.
Half penalties.
So how are you working on these set pieces? Because you have a very good set piece specialist in the players, like Musa Barrow. Barrow is very good on that.
So yes, we do work on it, is the answer. We've got very clear sort of ideas for our wide free kicks, our central free kicks, our corners, both attacking and defensive. The defensive stuff is definitely tightened up. Obviously, you all know we added a member of coaching staff in Ndene to the goalkeeping department, and Danny has a big influence as well in terms of our defensive set pieces, in terms of working with the goalkeepers and the defenders of where and how we want to set up. And so the work's there. The nature of it is, though, is that again, time is always against us, and that's why we don't change it very much. You know, what we were working on back in June is largely what we're still working on. You know, at club level, when I took over at Gor Mahia the previous year, they'd scored 2 set pieces all year. The year I took over, we scored 16 because we worked on it in pre-season. We basically took an entire week in pre-season, which along with our fitness work was set piece work, offensive and defensive. And then it meant during the year you were just revising them every week. You were like reminding yourself of them, but you weren't spending any significant time during the season because you had other things to do. But at international level, again, you don't have that ability. So yes, you know, every day, you know, at the end of, you know, usually the way we set up a training week with the national team is we'll have a day purely dictated or dedicated to our attacking content, and we'll also do our attacking set pieces. We'll have another day which is purely dedicated to the defending content and defending set pieces, and then we'll have another day where we bring everything together and lead into the game. But the nature of it is we usually only have 3 days with everybody together, because if you look, for example, we have a game on Friday, but 6 of our players are playing on Sunday, which means they will travel. They don't. They're not able to really do. Even on Tuesday, they shouldn't be doing a full training session. They're still in their recovery. So the first time we really have a full training session at full intensity is Wednesday, and then you're playing on Friday. So you can see, if you remember, if you go back to when I was Sierra Leone coach, and this is 12 or 13 years ago. I don't know how it happened, but in CAF, you played Saturday. Yes. So you had the players together for like 2 weeks. You had them a week before the first game, and then another week to do your training and travel for the second game. Whereas now we're playing, I get them on the Tuesday, we play on the Friday, and then we play on the Monday. So now we've went from 14 days together to like 7 days together.
It's a congested calendar.
But it's the same for everybody. And I know that when I come into international football, and it's the same for the Comoros coach, it's the same for so it is what it is, but I don't think it helps the growth of African football. The quality of the team play I think suffers because the players don't get enough time to work together and get that relationship re-established.
I'm just going to comment on that point, because last couple of months ago, as the Secretary of the International Sports Press for Africa, we wrote an open letter to the CAF President, Dr. Motsepe. Of course, there was this huge furor surrounding the calendar in which the AFCON suffered, and the African calendar, CAF tournaments were also suffering from. So just supporting him, encouraging him to really see how best he protects the African football calendar, because if not, it's going to succumb to the European and FIFA's, because FIFA now had the World Club competition, the World Cup, and yes, clubs are complaining, but countries are also equally suffering. So that
because of money. Television time.
Yeah, they need money also, because the subventions coming to most of these countries also comes from those tournaments, and that is why it's a balancing act. But sorry, Coach, because Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was talking about this thing some time ago, that how can these big clubs complain about these things, because apparently they need this money to pay the big wages to the big players they're signing, and you can't have it both ways. So it's quite interesting. But for national teams like the ones we in our situation, our position, we don't benefit much from this, and that's the irony, So
how does this affect you, international coaches, when you have this crowded fixtures, or you have this awkward calendar, like the next Africa Cup of Nations is going to happen in December? You would qualify and wait for 1 year.
Almost. Like for us as a coach, the best part of my job is putting my football boots on in the morning. I've had my coffee, I put my football boots on, I grab one of the kit bags with the rest of the staff, we go out. And even that, like 30 minutes even before the players arrive, just us out on the grass getting everything organized. And then when they walk out and you're out there with that group of 20, 25 men, young men who want to do well, who want to play, and we're going to get involved. And if you see me as a coach, I'm quite animated. I'm in amongst the players. Sometimes I've got my arm around them, sometimes I'm giving them a push or a kick up the backside if they need it. And so I'm quite in there with them. And that's the best part of this job, to be out there every day. And it used to be the case that an international team was 50 days a year, because it's 5 camps, 10 days, 50 days a year.
No, that's changed.
Now I think it's probably closer to 32 days a year. And so your impact on the players in person has suffered. and the quality of play at international level has suffered. And it's not just in Africa. People ask why the England national team with all of their star players were not able to play like Barcelona or like Real Madrid. But again, they didn't have the time for Harry Kane and Jack Grealish and all these guys to play well together. And so it has that challenge. But thankfully, the modern age of digital technology helps us a little bit in that when I was Sierra Leone coach, even WhatsApp didn't exist.
Yes.
You know, my phone bill was astronomical back then when I was having to call all these players. And whereas now, for example, today, all of our players who are in the squad will be getting individualized videos, like 3, 4, 5 minute videos, focusing specifically on what we need them to do in the upcoming games, the players they're going to be coming up against, what their targets are in training in those days. They also get, as a group, they get an introductory, rather than waiting until everybody's in camp for that first meeting. We still have those meetings, but they also get a digital version of almost like a presentation
before the
and
game,
me, and it goes out, and again 10-minute video, and we send it to them. We say download it, watch it on the airplane, so that when you land into camp you already know, okay, this is what Monday looks like, this is what Tuesday looks like, this is what training content, these are our focus points, our 3 or 4 key focus points in attack and defense, this is what the coach wants from the wingers, from the fullbacks. So they then land in and they already know we've already cleared the first bit of comprehension of the training camp, and then we get into the meetings. You know, we have small group meetings with, just like, say we have a meeting with the strikers, and we'll say to them, right, you know, Musa, what did you notice about their centre backs? You've watched the videos, let's have a chat about it. And we have like 20-minute meetings with all the units, the goalkeepers meet, the defenders meet, the midfielders meet, the strikers meet, and we all have these small meetings where they almost have to tell us a bit about their homework.
Very good.
And now we come together as a big team and we look tactically more. And those team meetings are only, they're budgeted for like 40 minutes. Sometimes they can run on past the hour mark because the players are getting involved. The players are saying, oh well, coach, I saw this in the video. How are we going to do, you know, and that's fantastic to have that buy-in from the guys. And so we are reduced in our time on the grass, which is a negative, but we can't really do anything about that. So we say, okay, what can we do in the digital realm that gives us a little bit more, gives the guys, because like we said, football, yes, is about the technical, but in a national team, I'm not going to make someone a better shooter or passer or tackler, but can I get his understanding of what he needs to do up? Yes. Yeah. And that doesn't have to be on the grass. So all of those things are coming in, but look,
unless you want to pick a question.
Yes. Recently, Coach, there was this news that match against Comoros will be played at the Independence Stadium in front of the.
We cannot help about the stadium.
You know, did you have that news? And when you received that news, how do you receive it? And it's not going to happen? Is it a disappointment or whatever?
Yeah, so look, I think it's fair to say, and I know I can speak on the players' behalf on this as well. You know, some things I wouldn't speak on others' behalf, but I know I can on this. Everyone, first of all, everyone's extremely hungry to come back and play here in the Gambia. There's players, and you can probably believe this, who have 10, 12, 13 appearances for the Gambia, who have never played at home, who have never played at home. And so when I go out, you know, part of my job is I fly all around Europe. You know, I spend more time in an airplane than in my own house. And I go and watch our players and meet their coaches and meet the club presidents and build those relationships. And this last few weeks doing that, the same from all the players. Oh, I can't wait to play at home. I can't wait to be back in Bakau. I can't wait to be back at the National Stadium. My family are going to come, my brothers, my sisters. Everyone was so excited. And me as a coach as well, because look,
I want to play home.
Football, but it's more than that. Yes, I want to play home, but football is about the fans. This game exists from the moment it was established, 150 odd years ago. It was about the fans. And the best game we have played, and actually I think the best we have personally played since I came here, was away in Gabon. And it was a capacity crowd there, a 1 hour long half time, which is probably for another show. But it was, even though it was Gabonese fans, the energy in the stadium is what everyone wants. And you're there and going, this is why we're involved in football, because we want to play for the fans. We want to feel that energy coming down off the terraces, the reactions to things that happen in the games. And so when you're playing in empty stadiums, the whole world knew what this felt like during COVID, but now we're having that extended through having to play in neutral venues. And it's just, look, the players are professional, they go out and give it everything, but it's not really enjoyable in the same way as it is in front of a capacity crowd. So the players and the coaches, everyone was really excited about coming home and playing in front of what I know would have been a feverish capacity crowd in Bakau. And so when the news came through that it wasn't going to happen, it naturally was a big disappointment for everybody. It's a big disappointment for everybody. And it's not just the team, it's a big disappointment for the GFF, it's a big disappointment for the government, for the federation, everyone, because we felt it was ready. We wouldn't have asked for the inspection if we didn't think it was ready. And so for it to have happened, we feel disappointed, but I always say this, is that we're not 5 years old. We're all fully functioning adults. And so we're able to swallow our disappointment and process it and move on. And so we're going to move on. The one thing I would say, and you'll find this, I'm a glass half full type of guy, is 6-7 months ago, to get the stadium approved, there was a list of 20 things that needed sorted out.
Now it's one.
Now there's one. And so again, I'm not in charge of it, I'm not out there doing stuff, but we play Kenya at home in March. Inshallah.
Now, Coach, I can talk about it, and being part of the EMC, that's the body responsible for
that is event management
committee of the federation that's responsible for organizing such.
They have kick-started arrangements.
We were also in top gear, trying to put everything in place for this game. The least we can say is disappointment. Yes, we're all disappointed. It's what I wanted to breach, but the most important thing you talked about is we're not 5-year kids. And we don't have to be labor on it anymore. I think now we know where we are, we know what needs to be done, and inshallah, as you mentioned, come March, we'll be able to be in our ground.
I was asking this question,
and I'm going to come to them. Just sorry, Moses. What Coach mentioned in our game against Comoros Islands, you talked about how important the fans are in these games. Some of these matches we played in Morocco, we're always outnumbered. So we don't even exist. We can tell you, we don't even exist. So can you imagine if we exist? Because the only thing that kept the Comoros in that game against Gambia in El Jadida was their fans. Coach will tell you, their fans. They kept them in that game, and that's why they were able.
Historically, there are more Comoro Islanders in Morocco than Gambia.
We only have Gambian students in Rabat who were able to be ferried in to come and support, and it's just one bus. So unlike 3 or 4 or 6, we didn't even exist. So, but that is why this home, advantage is very important in here. Unfortunately, not this time around, but the belief is strong. I want to believe.
So one thing we don't talk about is what are the chances of recruiting from the domestic league? I see that you went with the real goalkeeper of Much. What are the real chances of recruiting from the domestic league? Like, so you spend most of your time in Europe, and you seem to be concentrating more on, of course, players play abroad and not here.
But ultimately, when I am here, when the league's running, I go and watch the games, and I went and watched Nawetan when it was here as well. And we're in a busy international period at the moment, but obviously after this game, between now and next July, we only have 2 games, or 2 camps, 4 games. And so there's bigger periods, and the idea of me getting involved with the technical department, with Sang and Dong, and with scouting and doing a bit more domestically, even with the coach education side of it. I'm very passionate about that as well. All that will be planned in when we have those bigger gaps between the games. And so keeping an eye on the domestic league. Now, there are challenges. One, there are good players in the league, as we see, because someone like Abdoulaye Cisse, who I watched playing for Real de Banjul in May last year, out in Brikama, I think. And I watched him and he scored a couple of goals, a penalty and one from open play back in May. And then, but you come away from that game and you watch it there and you think, well, this pitch is probably about as far away from an international standard pitch as you can ever imagine. The ball's bouncing around everywhere. There's very little possession play happening of any real standard. And so how much is any level of performance transportable from that environment to the international environment? So that's a big challenge, is that I think the quality of surfaces that a lot of games, and that's not just here in the Gambia, there's a lot of countries have that challenge as well, because the surfaces in domestic club football across the African continent tend to be of a much lower standard. So that's the first thing. The second thing as well is, for all intents and purposes, our first division here is still largely an amateur league. They're looking at the idea of professionalizing it, but again, the conditioning of the players, the speed that they're training at. When you're training on a poor pitch, the intensity of training is lower. The physicality might not be lower, it can be very physical, but the tempo of play, the intensity is much lower on a bad pitch, because you've got to take 2 or 3 touches to control the ball. Whereas when you're playing on a pitch like in the Premier League, like Yankuba is, you can do things first time.
That's just like a table.
And it's like playing on a billiards table, and so that's always the challenge. And so when we've got so many players playing so well, I do see at the moment the Gambian League being somewhat of a development platform for our players. And so, but it's that funny thing, it's like in every country, and I understand it, because people, they have their teams and their communities, and at some point, like it's only 3 years ago that someone like Yankuba was playing here before he went to Odense. And so he was playing here. But my always thing is, there's always a yearning for the best young domestic players to get their chance with the senior national team. But then my question is, okay, and the moment he plays and gets 1 or 2 games, is he going to still be here in the Gambian First Division, or is he going to be now in Europe or Asia or the Americas? And now there will be the calls for the next young talent in the Gambian League to be played in the national team. But does that mean we drop the player who's just moved to Europe or to Americas? And so my thing is, the national team, and I think I show this by my selections, is not a development program. It's not a development program. It's not for players who are out of contract, who are looking for a new contract. It's not for players to get exposure. It's for performance. And so if I'm and people might not like that answer. I'm completely fine with people not liking that answer. But when I look at the league, I just think, I can't guarantee that this player will do well when he comes up to the national team. And look, if we get the opportunity to have a friendly window where we have 2 or 3 games, but also this is why tournaments like Cham are really important. Now I know CAF reorganized it super late, like it wasn't even the 11th hour, it was like the 14th hour, and so we didn't register because of the late registration, the late call from CAF. But that's where something like Cham is so vitally important, to give them that exposure and step up.
And you have once involved in Cham.
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah. It's a wonderful tournament. Cham is a wonderful tournament. It's the most.
You take the aim of things, not dedicating somebody.
No. I in the both of my positions with Rwanda and with Uganda, I coach the Cham team. It does come with its challenges, because ultimately, again, I told you, the part of my job I love the most is being out on the grass with the players. So, in the Cham windows, I pick 25 domestic players. I go go and work with them, and it's a different team from the senior team. And it's great because I love working with players. But it comes with its inherent challenges, because what I found with Cham is that at every stage in the process, at almost every stage in the process, people understand it's a development tool. But then you qualify for the finals, and it's all of a sudden no longer a development tool. And my approach to Cham is always treating it like an under-23s tournament. So if you look at my Cham squads for Rwanda and Uganda, 90% of the players are under 23. And it's because they have to have a future. There's no point picking a team that's all 30. They're never going to play for the senior team. And so, but what that means is we don't necessarily win the finals. And then you suddenly find that people are upset about that, even though at the beginning it was a development tool, but now it's a serious thing. So it has its challenges for a coach as well, but I love it as a tournament. It's a great tournament for the players to gain that experience, and when you're in the tournament, it feels like AFCON.
Absolutely,
because the stadiums are full. You're staying in the best hotels. You've got the best training facilities. It feels like AFCON.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about your work. You said you spend most of the time in aeroplane going around. When you work on the Ghana national team, where's your base if you're not in the Gambia? In Ireland?
No, so my base is in Spain. I decided a long time ago that cold weather does not suit me so easily. So I left Ireland as soon as I could. When I was 18, I left Ireland, and I've been away. I visit home, obviously, and family and friends, but I've not lived in Ireland since I left high school. And but that's quite natural for Irish. There's something like on the island of Ireland, there's about 7 million of us. But there's something like 50 million Irish passports in the world. So there's a lot of Irish around
in America.
So in fact, the Gambia is the first country I've ever lived in that doesn't have an Irish embassy. I was surprised at that. You're covered by the Nigerian embassy over in Nigeria, but everywhere has Irish. So, but Spain is where my base is. And it's nice because from where I am, there's direct flights to most places. So if I want to go to Hungary to watch one of our players, like last week I spent 8 days in Italy, and I managed to see all of our players who are playing in Italy and meet with their clubs, etc. I get to see our guys, I can fly to England very quickly. And so, a lot of time is spent going and watching games in person. We have sort of the full packages on things like Y Scout and all of that, so which surprisingly we didn't have before. So things like that surprised me. Like when I arrived at the national team and I was like, we need to get Y Scout, this is how much it costs, it allows me to watch all of our games of all of our players anywhere in the world, and was told, we have a package. But the package was purely to watch African Cup of Nations games. And I was like, well, how do we scout our players? So I don't know. But anyway, the FA and the government were fine. They signed the requisition and we got it. Same, you'll notice the guys, if you see training, have the GPS vests and all on now. So, in terms of support for what we're trying to do as a national team, in terms of professionalize the team, and I think the players really appreciate it. That they get that level of detail back to them.
When do you get to the other side, the Asia or the Far East?
I haven't been out to the Far East yet in the last 6 months. Obviously, we've got a couple of guys playing in Saudi. We've got some guys playing in sort of Qatar and in Bangladesh. Again, it's also about the value of the leagues. Not all leagues are the same. Not all leagues are the same, and I won't go into detail about my opinions of different leagues, but there are leagues that if you want to watch the headliner game of that league, so the Liverpool Man United of that league on TV, it looks fantastic, and the game is intense and there's 50,000 people in the stadium. But if you were to go to the next week and watch that team's next game away to a team that is bottom of the league, you'll suddenly go, this doesn't look like any standard at all. And so there's some leagues that you got to be careful with what you're looking at. And again, I'm very fortunate in that I've worked all over the world. You know, I've worked in North America, I've worked in Europe, I've worked in Africa, I've worked in Asia. I've worked in Bangladesh. I love the Bangladeshi people, and I love their enthusiasm for football and what they're the investment they're putting into the game. But I also know its level.
Very good.
And so a striker in the Bangladeshi league cannot necessarily be compared to a striker in the Belgian league or in the Turkish league.
Absolutely.
You can't compare the two.
Winding down on this specific task, when are you and your technical team flying out?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
We're
Sunday.
flying out tomorrow, so we're getting
When do
there.
you expect your first batch of players arriving?
Players are all getting in on Monday. That's a little bit of a... I have to say as well, we're dealing with it, but this camp has been... Normally the way preparations for a camp week go is you create a schedule of what you want the week to look like. You then get in place the logistics, and then you have to update to version 2 of the schedule, and that's the one that gets executed. That's a very normal process. What I want, logistics come into it, what I can realistically have. Today we're going to create version 6 of the schedule. So the planning for this week has been a little bit chaotic, but that's for us to deal with.
Yeah, final question is like time again. You said that you're expecting players on Monday. Will you be having all of them, or that Monday?
Yes, all of them on
Monday. Will you
Monday.
start training on Monday?
No, we'll start training on Tuesday.
So
Monday is everyone arriving.
Then you have two sessions and a free.
Yeah, we've got 3 in essence. We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
You play on Friday.
Yeah, but Thursday's training session in the stadium is usually only about 45-50 minutes. So we call it like kindergarten. You don't do too much on a match day -1 because you want the energy levels to be coming up. So we've got 2 like serious training sessions and a few classroom sessions as well.
Was that right?
What's important is, as Coach mentioned, he has his job cut out, and of course this is the most difficult preparation I want to believe you have had, because of the numerous changes. You said this is what the 6th slate
version of the schedule.
Let's call it the 6th slate, and I hope there's going to be a 7-1. Hopefully not. But in as it's well said in here, this is as important as any game that you would be playing in your coaching career, because it's a whole nation's hopes rest on your shoulders in seeing us through. I am of the view that it's possible, because you have our support in here, and let's not belabor on what could not be done, but what could be done.
No, exactly.
And for that, I think let's keep pushing.
Yeah.
Good. Well said. Musa Sise, journalist, and Moses Ndene, journalist also, sports journalism. We all together thank you very much, Jonathan Mckinstry, the coach for Gambia national team, who is going out to play Comoros and Tunisia in the last 2 rounds of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. We hope that we qualify, and as Musa used to say, that will kill all the stadium disappointments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. This is Lamin Cham, who will be back with more brunch next Saturday. Goodbye for now.
Have you traveled on the Westfield to Tabokoto Road lately? Have you experienced the traffic jam along the road? Have you noticed the persistence of the traffic jam? Above all, have you experienced the inconvenience that accompany you as you navigate your way through this traffic?
It can be both costly and frustrating. Well, imagine having an alternative route to this congested Westfield to Tabokoto or Westfield to Birkama Highway.
A bypass from Sting Corner to Mandinaba could greatly reduce traffic congestion in the greater Banjul area, significantly improve travel time, reduce cost for passengers, improve safety, and scale up environmental benefit.
Plans are underway to build this bypass and make it a toll road. An analysis has shown that those who invest in this toll road can recover their investments and potentially make significant profits.
The bypass could be financed through National Direct Investments, NDI, and complemented by Foreign Direct Investments, FDI.
The NDI is an initiative that would create a platform through which national savings of both residents and diaspora Gambians are channeled to finance strategic development projects that are of national interest and can generate revenue. The bypass will have a self-financing capacity, operated through user charges, and a strong incentive for participation from a financial viewpoint.
In case you're wondering about the management of this project, here's the plan. Representatives of the investors will be part of the board of the Special Purpose Vehicle, or SPV, responsible to provide strategic direction and oversight. In other words, they will be responsible for overall governance and decision-making.
This SPV will be a separate, independent legal entity to own and operate the project.
An escrow account with account details visible to all investors will be opened for the project.
By investing in a project like this, you are assured of a return on your investment and, most importantly, improve the lives of thousands of ordinary people. A win-win situation.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Planning to have an uninterrupted electricity and water supply from solar energy in the Gambia and beyond? Worry no more, because Solar Enterprise will provide you with the solutions at reasonable cost. We have experienced personnel who can install and advise you about your electricity and water supply with a warranty period. We have good quality solar products from North America and Europe. We provide services and sell products to individuals, organizations, institutions, private offices, communities, and government. These products are solar panels, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, water pump, water heaters, freezers, submersible pumps, and general solar accessories. Visit our stores at 48 Kairaba Avenue and Brusubi Highway, or you can call us on 7657-479 980-8483, 340-9400 or 635-9906.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and approved services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited, or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051, or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka. Mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Janno mi yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bere to. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi manin domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moy o diat ha.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel ciosano lo.
Abaraka.